That's right, it's the MVWF podcast. With your recap of ManchMania and a glance into the future with your hosts, Damian Andrews and Eddie Stank. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Damian Andrews. I am your play-by-play announcer for all MVWF events, and this is the MVWF podcast. Folks, what a ManchMania it was, and here to recap it with me here tonight is, well, one of the co-bookers of the Super 32 tournament and my color commentator during the 4-hour-plus broadcast of ManchMania 2. Eddie Stank, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Damian?
It is going phenomenally. Rewatched the show the other day with a person who shall remain nameless. And what we saw on this show, I mean, I just watching the main event again, watching the tag titles, watching Kevin's match with Gronk, all of those things really went to support, like, man, what a great show it was. Like, every single match pretty much delivering one after another. And to top it all off, like, an absolutely epic main event to kind of like bring everything around to a climax.
Yeah, it was a hell of a conclusion of the season.
Yeah. So anyway, let's break it on down. We'll start with the pre-show, I guess. Work our way up. We had the 20-man Royal Rumble where, boom, goes the Dynamite. We both made the pick on who we decided it was going to win this fucking match. Who won that match, Eddie?
That would be Pink Eye.
Pink Eye, that's right. The distorted face man in the bunny suit who has, like, no attribute points fucking went out there and tore it up. I mean, basically, you know, a match full of our cast-offs who just weren't good enough to be on the main card and stuff, but I think they kind of delivered in this. Well, I mean, if it pays off when you make your prediction and it comes out, of course you're going to be like, you know, thumbs up, right?
Yeah, I mean, the odds of hitting one out of what was it, 20-man?
Yeah,
it was a 20-man. So hitting 1 out of 20 is like, you know, not too likely.
Right. And of course, that match was followed up with an upset victory. I would have to say, maybe the Young Bucks from AEW making their presence. And by the way, a very uneventful AEW appearance by Jon Moxley in that 20-man Royal Rumble, where he causes a stir everywhere he goes, both in New Japan and over here in the United States and AEW and some independent federations where he's showing up, slapping the snot out of
various people.
Enzo and fucking Big Cass.
Enzo.
Right.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Right. But a tremendous match, as a matter of fact, whereas at the beginning of the match, I think we were questioning whether or not the Bucks just didn't seem to be relying on their aerial maneuvers that they were known for. And then out of the fucking blue, did they just unleash the fury with just one after another after another.
Yeah, I mean, they just turned the light switch on.
Right.
Kind of get comfortable, you know?
Wolf and Cube have been a long-standing tag team, believe it or not. But Cube, very few appearances to show for here in the MVWF since the big scandal with him and Kevin Welch and Brandon Bones and all of that way back when. They got the super kick party straight to the face, and the Young Bucks win. Seems to be the seed being planted, perhaps maybe somewhere later in the season for some sort of cross-promotional thing with AEW.
Yeah, I mean, we've had it with NXT, we've had it with WWE, and we've had it with New Japan, so
yep.
AEW just seems likely.
Right.
They've always been good events.
Yep. And speaking of tag teams, the show opened with a Little Bitch Ass against Ron Awesome, former tag team champions. But they were a tag team, again, much like Skinny Wolf and Cube. In fact, they were their chief tag team rivals. But LBA making appearances once again ever since the Super 32 tournament. And boy, has he upped his game.
Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah.
He looks phenomenal.
I mean, he took Ron Awesome to school, and in spite of the fact that Ron Awesome hit him with just about everything that he fucking had, including the Awesome Driver, Little Bitch Ass picks up the win.
Yeah, I think having almost 3/4 of the season off to recover from injuries definitely helped him out.
Right.
And the fresher of the two.
Yeah, following up after that was one of our marquee matches on the show here. Early in the card, Kevin Welch picking up the slack in the undercard here, seeing as though that he found himself, even though he holds a very recent victory over the MVWF champion.
Yeah.
Kevin Welch going one-on-one here with Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, that was embarrassing for Welch. I mean, he had a phenomenal season. He was a champion for a while this year.
Sure.
And he didn't even make the second card.
Right.
I mean, we had 3 cards out of this.
Right. You would almost think that the celebrity status of Gronk would be something that you wouldn't do on this card, but Kevin's career definitely needed a boost. I mean, he's in fucking top title contention. Don't get me wrong. I mean, having a recent victory, but of course, so does Ryan Doyle.
Right.
But Crawford has thought he had vanquished those guys at this point.
Yeah.
But let's not get too off topic here. Let's continue to fucking put the props here because this match was phenomenal. Gronk really brought, in spite of the fact that he had a very simplistic offense, he kept it simple. He didn't get too complicated out there. He was grinding them on the ropes and stuff, but it was Kevin who took the fucking bump of the night when he jumped off the top rope and missed what I thought might have been an attempt at a Hurricane Rana.
Yeah, Gronk. It looked like Gronk just stepped out of the way.
Stepped out of the way and swept his leg in midair upside down so that Kevin fell backwards just beyond, thankfully for him, the edge of the apron.
Right.
But still, unfortunately for him, coming down on the fucking floor on the top of his head.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, Gronk couldn't even capitalize on that, unfortunately.
Right. Because, I mean, Kevin, though, I mean, it was almost immediately afterwards, Gronk shit the bed, but he did survive the powerbomb off the top rope. I mean, Kevin, these guys brought the big moves.
Yeah, I mean, they showed for the promotional spot, the head spot of the third card.
I mean, both they
delivered.
Gronk and we'll be talking about Tom Brady a little later on, relying on their football tackles to get it done, a spear, whatever you want to call it. Kevin countered the first one, and went in a spot that he looked like he was totally vulnerable. I mean, Kevin looked. His in-ring game is good. His political game continues to be pretty weak. And if he can't make something out of this victory here at ManchMania, well, again, we'll be talking to AJ the Giant later in the show, where he's going to give some of his future predictions now that he has the book. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah. World Tag Team titles on the line, last minute. I guess card subject to change, like it says in the pay-per-view advertisements. The Shadow King, while in this last moment to really do a gear shift on the MVWF with him having the bookership,
right?
Pulls a fast one on the Jackson Boys, looking to settle up their score with the Kingdom of Nightmares, Adrian Knight and Mr. Nightmare, but forcing both of them, however, to do double duty tonight. This might have been the fatal decision on the Shadow King's part because of what happened later on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an impulsive move by the Shadow King, trying to gain total control. He wanted the tag titles. He wanted the World Championship. He wanted total control of every subject he could possibly cover.
Right.
And as we all know, if you watch the event, it backfired badly.
Yeah. But the Jackson Boys, of course, the story of the match, though, eliminating... it was, it's not just single elimination for the team. Like one guy goes down, both guys had to be eliminated, much like in the 20th anniversary match with the 4 teams.
Right.
But they managed to, the Jackson Boys and the Kingdom of Nightmares managed to whittle the League of Shadows down all the same. Honky Lips busted open in the match, got beat up pretty bad, got hit with the Jacksonian. And then, of course, as you would have it, as it was supposed to originally be, got down to the Jacksons and the Knights, and boy, did they tear it up after that.
Yeah, that was a big stepping stone for the 2 teams. I mean, those are your probably 2 dominant tag teams currently in the MVWF. But
yeah,
I mean, the Jackson Boys complete 180 from last season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those 2 stepped up this year.
Yeah, I mean, early on when you had like this kind of this tough love thing, I mean, Kyle was known to actually hit Nick in some of the matches and stuff. Leave him to be double teamed. I mean, of course, the Jackson Boys. Pretty much what it seemed to really come down to was just getting that communication right. And eventually, the harder Kyle seemed to get on Nick, the less things like losing to local talent earlier this year in that one-on-one match really seemed to. Well, you know what though? Like, who remembers that now anymore? Right?
Honestly, yeah, I'm laughing because it just that might have been the turning point in Nick's development right there.
Right.
You got to hit rock bottom to go up, right?
Right. I mean, he was a rookie last year. And both
But came out guns a-blazing last year.
both Jacksons got dumped into the deep end of the pool last year, and got kind of the stranglehold. I mean that the Adrian Knight feud started last year.
Yeah.
And
it's funny how Adrian Knight went from AJ the Giant to the Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, anyhow, so the Jackson's successful title defense, basically guaranteeing themselves the Tag Team of the Year award. I mean, who better, really?
Yeah, they're 2-time tag champs, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, quite the story between them and the Knights and stuff. The leapfrog, the exchanging of the title belts. The Jacksons finally being victorious, and then going on to beat even more legendary teams like the Victory Dojo. I mean, Doyle. Boy, they hit him 3 times with the Jacksonian before it finally put him down. But anyway, this is the ManchMania recap, and let's move right along here.
Into something else.
Yeah. The White Side came out for his grudge match against Ryan Doyle, and he showed up with a surprise guest, but ended up not really paying off for him too well. In spite of the fact the White Side beat Doyle bloody, Doyle, once again, the comeback king every single time. He gets overwhelmed by his opponents, takes a tremendous beating, and still finds a way to win.
Yeah, he's my wrestler of the year.
Yep.
We've debated this before, but
right.
You can't count the guy out. He gets beat up, looks dead.
Yeah.
Somehow finds a way to win.
Well, we'll get in more into that later and stuff too. Moving right along to Brandon Bones faced CM Punk. In spite of the fact that, again, Brandon Bones opened up like a house of fire, hitting all of his signature aerial moves. The dive through the ropes that sent Punk into the railing. The spiral tap off the top rope, got a 2 count. The fact that he had Goodnight Irene locked on, but Punk countered.
Yep.
And then, the GTS, and then Punk put him in the camel clutch, just like Rock Holly did, forcing Bones to tap out for the first time in his career a few weeks ago. Punk apparently got the memo.
Yeah, might have been some collusion going on there.
Well, we're sending a message, and I think we might have gotten our answer from CM Punk here, that this particular victory against this particular opponent is notable because Punk finally walked in and beat somebody from the MVWF whose name is synonymous with the MVWF.
Yeah, he beat a legend.
Yeah.
He beat a few other MVF guys, but Brandon Bones came out bitching and moaning. Lack of effort from Punk. Not worth the money he was paying him to be there.
Right.
So he got him all riled up and probably sealed his own fate. But he threw everything he had at Punk and just couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, but you know what else got thrown at Brandon Bones during that match? A guy whose match we forgot to talk about earlier on in the night. A guy who lost to Walker in the opening of the pay-per-view.
I forgot all about that.
That's right. Walker finally getting his big victory in the undercard against a guy that he's had some problems with, Arn Patrick. A guy who has had a pretty impressive year for not because of his win-loss record necessarily, but because, he's had some memorable moments. The match with Punk was a phenomenal fucking match. Definitely a top 10 match for the year.
Big moment.
And knowing how close he came to beating a guy of Punk's stature and stuff, right?
Yeah. Those two, Arn Patrick and Walker, are my two guys that I hope develop next season and have a stronger role than they currently have. But they're no different than what Kyle and Nick went through and Adrian Knight year one.
Right. We'll see what AJ the Giant has to say about it later in the show. But yeah, Walker winning big, wild card was there for him in the match. A few distractions and stuff. There was definitely some bullshit that took place there. Arn Patrick definitely got fucked. And what was the first thing that Arn Patrick did to respond to that loss was to walk out during the Punk Bones match, step right up to Brandon Bones, who audibly could be heard saying, "What do you want?" And he just turned around and took his head off with that clothesline.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And who knows how differently the turnout might have been for Bones. Because Bones seemed to take that from, for the rest of the match and stuff. It didn't seem to bother him.
Still did some damage,
But yeah, it had to have done some kind of damage.
Well, that's a bold move by a rookie.
Yeah.
Go call out the guy who signed you in the middle of a big match against a guy he signed that flopped so far.
Right.
That takes some balls. So, I think Arn Patrick and Walker both will continue to develop, and we'll get to them guys later.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Walker finally. The point of fact, though, is that Walker did get his win over a guy who is his rival here. He got his arm raised. That's all there is to it. There was some bullshit behind it, but now we have a clearer picture of who Walker's character is.
Right.
Apparently, he is a nefarious villain, and apparently, he is no problem using a guy like the mysterious Wild Card as his manager.
Yes.
To make some moves here.
Yeah.
On the biggest stage of them all.
I have no idea who Wild Card is. It's a Wild Card.
Right. And then, of course, one of the biggest matches of the show, I mean, it's just main event after main event at this point. The Shadow King putting the Bookership on the line against AJ the Giant, who announces he's firmly in the camp of Brandon Bones as his manager. And since then has had some success here. It seems that AJ becoming Booker here has definitely opened up all of the possibilities for him in Season 3 that he seems to have been denied in spite of his winning record.
Right. We'll get to it down the line. But,
yep.
You know, look, if Shadow King made the challenge to AJ again, he wanted to avenge that first loss and had to give something to get something.
Right.
So Brandon Bones was able to negotiate Bookership in the match.
Right. I mean,
much to the chagrin of Ryan Crawford.
Yeah.
Not happy.
Yeah.
That Brandon Bones is the manager of AJ the Giant. Mm-hmm. Goes against the whole new generation thing.
So, we'll just let me just plant this seed right here, because it's like now we have the most interesting dynamic here that I've seen in quite a while. Because Brandon Bones being kind of this, he owns the MVWF. He manages the MVWF. He's an executive.
Right.
He is responsible for the booking of buildings. He is the matchmaker. He still has
a lot of roles.
Yeah, he still has a lot of roles in the MVWF, minus the Bookership. You know, he signs talent. Apparently, the new Booker, AJ the Giant, has requested some new, the influx of some new talent. So we'll see who Brandon Bones signs.
Yep.
You know, and now that Bones now has to be, you know, it's funny because now he's AJ's manager.
Right. So how can you separate the two?
You're right.
You know, is he going to do moves to benefit AJ's career, or is he going to do moves to benefit the MVWF?
Well, I mean,
can he be trusted?
Right. AJ is in a power position for the first time in his career. If he wanted to give himself a title shot right off the bat, there isn't anybody with, not even Brandon Bones as the owner has enough stroke to
decline it.
Yeah, to decline it. And if he were, I mean, what kind of dynamic would that create between AJ and Brandon Bones as wrestler manager, as player coach?
Right.
You know?
Does that put friction on the relationship in ring, not so much out ring?
Right.
Season 3 will determine that all.
Right. But of course, there's also the burden of carrying the Bookership and also trying to succeed as a wrestler.
Right.
I mean, Bones has obviously when he was in charge, he had a tremendous championship reign in Season 1. But unfortunately, he had already, you know, prefabricated his schedule that his championship victory ran right into the B1 Climax tournament. And it cost him, I mean, even winning that tournament, it cost him the status of his championship, because no one compares his championship reign to Rock Holly's in any way.
No, well, he hasn't defended it.
Yeah, Bones you know what? I have to go back and take a look at the stats, but Bones might have comparable consecutive wins on Rock Holly.
It's possible.
You know,
I don't know off the top of my hand. I don't have that in front
of me. Right. But AJ, you know, saves the day at ManchMania, wins the Bookership. Evil is defeated. The Shadow King tapped out to the bear hug, right?
Yeah, the bear hug again. Same thing in that 6-man.
Yeah.
Or 5-man. I don't remember if it was 5 or 6.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, he tapped out in. But you know, I mean, the Shadow King.
Actually, I think AJ holds the first submission and pinfall wins over the Shadow King in his career.
Right. All right. And speaking of main events, I mean, probably one of the most intriguing matches. It was the first match signed for ManchMania.
Yeah.
Tom fucking Brady from the New England Patriots, the 6-time Super Bowl champion, against the MVWF legend. The dynamic of like two super athletes that have excelled to legendary status in their sport.
Well, you know.
But hold on. And they are each other's biggest fans.
Yeah, there's a lot of bromance going on there.
Yeah, but yet they are clashing.
Well, you know, Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Right.
Is Rock Holly the GOAT of MVWF? Greatest of all time. Was it a matchup of two GOATs? Or was it a matchup of just two superior athletes?
I mean, do you want to take anyone to take a position on that? I mean,
well, I'm asking your opinion because I'm not familiar with the early days of Rock Holly,
Right.
so I wouldn't know if Rock Holly would be classified as the greatest MVWF wrestler you've had from day one to current time.
well, I'll tell you this much: it surprises me that it took this long for this match to happen. Because Rock Holly, I mean, and even though Rock Holly worships at the altar of Tom Brady, and Tom Brady obviously worships at the altar of Rock Holly, it is, it is a circle jerk with two guys in it, and there's no room for anyone else.
No, it's a two-man party.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you ask them that question, and what are they going to tell you? Tom Brady's going to tell you that Rock Holly is the greatest wrestler in the MVWF
Yeah,
history.
and Rock Holly's going to say Tom Brady is
He's
the
the
greatest.
greatest Super Bowl.
I mean, that's how they feel. That's just my thought of it, at least. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong.
Right. But I mean, you know what though? But I mean, this match kind of bleeds into the next one and when we want to make this segue here, because when you're talking about the greatest of all time, and you're talking about, Rock Holly's victory over Tom Brady, boy, did Tom Brady bring it.
No, Tom Brady had a good match. But just on an unrelated note, Tom Brady has announced he will not be returning.
Right.
He has been told by the NFL he's not allowed to foray into wrestling.
Well, Rock Holly threw that German suplex that sent him into the turnbuckle, dude. And it's like, well, I mean, there was a reason why the part of the negotiations to sign that contract to make these two matches happen. Because keep in mind, we also did the tag team match a couple months ago.
Their first appearance.
That Tom Brady was required to wear a helmet in the ring. His football helmet to protect him from CTE.
Yeah.
And what did Rock Holly try to do? Because he didn't treat him in the ring like he was somebody that he had any fucking respect for.
Nope. They hugged afterwards, had some respect after the match, but from the minute that bell rung to the minute the refs count happened.
Right. Amazing. Another amazing match. Another tremendous main event at ManchMania here. I'll put this fucking event up against any WrestleMania, any fucking Wrestle Kingdom or Tokyo Dome event or whatever. I mean, that was the climax of the season right here. And this last match here, Ryan Crawford successfully defending the MVWF Championship for a fourth consecutive time against the undefeated MC Honky Lips. What was it here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-3. But MC Honky Lips making a tremendous showing here in spite of that score right there, because things did look awfully dire for him at one point in spite of the fact that he got the first pinfall.
Yeah, I think he was down 3-1 very quickly after that first pinfall. Then he kind of rallied, make it 3-2, and then Crawford took over, which Crawford's a finisher.
Yeah.
He usually doesn't have quick matches.
Mm-hmm.
He always gets beat up. He always looks like his head gets fucking wrecked every time you watch him wrestle.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder if all his pieces are there. But, Honky Lips was my biggest surprise for the year. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
No.
And, is he going to stay with the Shadow King? Is the League of Shadows done? Like, those are questions to be answered.
Right. And this match right here, absolutely heartbreaking, for Honky Lips who went the entire year, and it seemed more than anything else that he got mismanaged here towards the end by the Shadow King.
Yeah, the Shadow King stopped paying attention to his arc and focused on his own and didn't really pan out.
Yeah.
And I think the firing of Damon Andrews probably affected it too, because he was probably the voice of reason in that group.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what?
I gave you a compliment, asshole.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I'll take credit for it and stuff. I mean, I was a Thrall for a while. The Shadow King.
The original Thrall.
Yeah, the original Thrall.
You're the OG, the OT.
Yeah. But I got thrown out, and that's what that was. I mean, I worked in more of an administrative respect here behind the scenes. I did the paperwork, I signed the checks, for all. I carried everyone's weed.
You ran the drug.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you've never said why you were kicked out.
They've never said why I was kicked out.
Maybe that's a question you should ask.
The idea. Well,
were you embezzling money?
No, I just
sleeping with the Shadow King's wife.
Well,
you stole their weed, didn't you?
Yes. It was fantastic, I mean, hardly a show goes by that I announce where I'm not. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Or a podcast for that matter.
Dude, I rewatched this match the other night, like I said, from an undisclosed location with undisclosed people in my company, and I'll tell you what. That this match was amazing. Like some of the callbacks to earlier in the match and stuff like that. the body part work. Like, man, like when Crawford was working the arm, he worked for it to get those submissions and stuff. Honky Lips got that first pin, and like everybody, the room just went cold for a second because obviously there could be a title change here.
Yeah, I don't remember if I think I went on record saying Honky Lips was going to lose, but I can't remember exactly. I'll have to go back to one of the podcasts because we had a conversation about that.
Yeah. If I remember right, I think I called Crawford to win, but
you couldn't go against Crawford because the guy wins every time.
Right. By the way, we also forgot to mention that the Shadow King had Hot Asian Wife with him.
Yes, that is a Hot Asian Wife seems to be
controversial.
These days. She's been with 3 of the top wrestlers. Is she gonna end up with someone new next season? That lady seems to be getting around.
It would seem. Her name was mentioned.
Yes, it's true. I heard it was mentioned on
another program.
Yeah.
Name
that we don't speak of.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Hot Asian Wife had been the rabbit's foot for these wrestlers. She was there when Kevin Welch won his first title. Yep. She was there when Crawford won the title from Kevin Welch.
Yeah. She was the sniper rifle.
And then she was supposed to be there to save Shadow King, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Another thing stopped by the Giant, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the Shadow King busted out the magic. He had a Hot Asian Wife, and the Giant just, back then, and here and this event and stuff like that, took him out finally. There's only so much you can do, and there's only so many times you can go to the well before you come up dry. And maybe that's why she was on that other show this week. Maybe she's kind of running off in shame, trying to shed her skin of this.
The question is, who does she go back to?
Yeah, but her not being there for Crawford apparently
didn't affect him.
Over the long term, because of course, he was in dire peril at one point, and then when it was tied 3-3 at one point during the match, but within like the last 3 minutes or so, Crawford got those last 2 victories and pulled away with the win.
Turned up the heat.
Yeah, and folks, that was ManchMania. What an event! What a show that was! I'll tell you, Eddie Stank, I have compiled some statistics of people's win-loss records in here that we can kind of review.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can use these win-losses here to just kind of set the stage. If you don't mind taking a stage left exit here, we can welcome AJ the Giant to the show. And welcome AJ Giant to the show.
How's it going, Bones?
You don't have to change your voice, Dick.
I'm here.
Okay. So AJ, you have the bookership of the MVWF. Congratulations, defeating the Shadow King.
Thank you.
You are the man now, of whom you are Atlas, holding the world upon your shoulders, your mighty, gigantic shoulders. You look to be in tremendous shape.
Keto diet.
Apparently being under the tutelage of Brandon Bones got you victory, got you power, and now has got you in shape.
Yeah, this is the 3rd attempt I think I've had at or 2nd attempt at least, to try to get control of something.
Right.
To help take away the power. Because originally it was against Brandon Bones, ironically enough, when he was manipulating the book.
Right, but common enemies and all and stuff seem to kind of bring AJ and Brandon Bones back together here, the former tag team champions. But let's kind of tell the story of the year. G-Man Ryan Crawford is your MVWF champion. Started off the year as MVWF champion, but with a lot of question marks hanging over his head as far as the effectiveness of his specialized submission holds, his inability to put Brandon Bones away and win the bookership from him last year. Got crushed by Ryan Doyle, lost the belt. Doyle immediately defended the belt against... Shit.
Fuck. Technical difficulty.
That was G-Man Ryan Crawford. Hold on, I'll call him back. Just welcoming to the show now is G-Man Ryan Crawford. You are live on the MVWF podcast. G-Man, do you have anything to say?
First off, fuck Rock Holly.
Okay. Oh, I think he's frozen. Well, what else?
Well, that's all he needs to say.
That's really all he needs to say.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Crawford. Oh, that was pro.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. There he is.
Hey, he just can't see you.
What are you doing? The MVWF champion is on the line, folks. You happen to call. We're doing the middle of the podcast right now. We just finished the ManchMania recap.
Who's on the line?
You are on the line, motherfucker.
No, what's my name? Say my fucking name.
The MVWF World's Heavyweight Champion, G-Man Ryan Crawford. Welcome to the podcast, motherfucker.
I have done more shit.
What?
Any of you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Where's my giant? I want to see my giant.
Crawford, what's going on, buddy?
Hey!
How you been?
Pretty good.
Oh, you're moving
Real
now.
commission, not this punk.
Yeah. Well, he makes me come down here and have conversations.
Yeah, I know. He's the only thing that makes him relevant anymore.
That is true.
Well, we were just about to review your record for the year at 13-10.
But where's the belt, baby?
Oh, is he drinking Bud Light?
Shameless
I'm
promotion.
drinking a bit of bed. Yeah, she makes me use koozies now. Because I spill.
Aww.
So anyway, we are live on YouTube right now.
Wait, Crawford, are you cheating on Hot Asian Wife? Oh, wait, she left you for Shadow King.
We just got disconnected. Okay.
Oh, there it goes.
All right, so... Anyway, so...
Where's my giant?
Hot Asian Wife, of course, you know, she was used very effectively all year long, and of course, she was used by Crawford to set up to inspire Kevin Welch to defeat Doyle, to take the belt off of him, and then Crawford used Hot Asian Wife to pull the rug underneath Kevin, took the championship from him pretty handily, and then now he finds himself on his fourth successful title defense, with the next one staring him in the face.
Yep.
As the tie, tying with Rock Holly's 5 consecutive championship wins last year.
What's the record? Wasn't it Doyle with the record?
No.
Oh, Rock Holly has a record at 5.
Rock with 5 successful title defenses. Now Rock Holly's win streak at that point, he was undefeated up until he lost the belt. I don't know exactly what the total is on that because there's like 3 or 4 matches in the championship tournament and probably some tag team matches and shit. But that being said, so AJ, that's who the champion is. So why don't you go ahead and throw some of your ideas on the table here about who you think the number 1 contenders are.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Crawford right now. So, Crawford's got some lingering scores to settle, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
So since Crawford didn't get to it while he was on his little conversation on the phone, I'll make the announcement for you. In the first title defense will be Ryan Crawford versus Rock Holly in a submissions match.
Really?
At the request of Ryan Crawford. He wants a submission match.
Okay.
He wants his 5th title defense to be against the guy who had 5 title defenses. And I don't think he knew that fact.
Right.
But that being said, that will be the main event of the first event of season 2.
I mean, it's hard to argue with it. I'll tell you that much. From over here, from my point of view, Rock Holly did defeat Tom Brady. He won the 30-man Royal Rumble this year. The only thing he didn't do was really get by in that 3-way match a few weeks back.
He did lose a couple 6-man matches.
Yeah.
Involved in, but that's
here, not here or there.
But I mean, Crawford has earned the right to pick his first match.
Right.
I gave him the option. This is who he wanted. He could have picked anybody. He could have picked Pink Eye for all I know.
Right.
But he wants to close the book on Rock Holly.
Right. You know what? I mean, I don't blame him. For Crawford to take that next step up in the perception of his championship reign.
Right.
Because, of course, remember, Crawford, his original reputation that he was building was, it took him 3 championship matches before he finally won the belt. And now here he is on his 3rd championship reign before he's finally having a successful championship reign.
Well, he's always had head problems. The guy's had injury issues that have cost him title defenses going forward. So we don't know what he could have done. He was capable of more.
There have been a lot of plot holes, and there have been a lot of potholes he's fallen into.
Yep.
Unexpectedly. Not everything being his fault. Some guys just went to fucking try and take his head off. This hasn't been easy for him.
No, and Crawford doesn't have a lot of close people to help him.
Right.
Most wrestlers have friends. Crawford has 1 solid person or 2 that he's fucked over already.
Yeah.
So is he alone? What is the status of his new age group?
Well, the new generation appears to be entirely dissolved because at this point, AJ can't. I mean, well, you, not to talk about you, like you're not in the room.
Third person.
But for a guy like you, the Giant, you are more likely to be booked against Kevin Welch at this point in your careers.
If the trajectory lines up.
Yeah. Crawford sacrificed his friendship on the altar for the championship.
Yep.
It was him who inserted Hot Asian Wife to inspire Kevin Welch, and then only to take it away from him by taking her away from him.
Yeah. Well, he played his friend. Aren't they like friends?
Yeah.
So
they were a tag team.
He's been a tag team with me too.
Right.
We know where that led us.
But I mean, we were starting to see Crawford do this change over the year and stuff after the frustration boiled over not being able to beat Brandon Bones and win the Bookership. He brought Kevin Welch with him, that backstage segment where he jacked Brandon Bones, and then AJ ended up having to be the one to save him.
Well, the Giant's been torn. He's in the middle of the new generation and the
Right.
loyalty to the old generation.
Right, and he just eventually kind of kept his distance, and wouldn't you know it, I mean, maybe Crawford thought he was doing something like Kyle would do, and doing the tough love thing, because he punched him and cost the Giant the match in the rematch of the greatest six-man tag team match.
Yeah,
the Giant got choked out by Doyle.
Well, that's the question. Like, how much can the Giant trust Ryan Crawford? That's the question. How much can I trust him? But I'm starting to think, Brandon Bones might be going the other way too. Right now, the Shadow King took over his business, kicked him out. All his friends abandoned him for the most part.
Right.
The only one who actually helped him was me.
Right.
And he's got a respect for that. He hasn't fucked me over yet.
Right.
It's always in the back of your mind. But, I think he might be kind of seeing that the new age might be the way to go right now.
Well, Brandon Bones, he started the year on kind of a down note, considering that he managed to not lose at ManchMania, but he didn't win the belt.
Right.
The belt back from the guy who took it from him.
Right. Well, that's after the big B1 climax, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it was after the climax because he took the belt.
Yeah.
Brandon
won the greatest tournament in history and got nothing for it. Just like another.
No, he got the privilege of saying I lost one match to a guy who came out that wasn't even the guy I was supposed to wrestle for one. The Kevin Welch swerve.
Dude, it was a pile of shit served on a silver platter.
Exactly. So Brandon can't bitch about that, but that's the only loss he had. I'm not trying to praise Brandon Bones here. I'm just telling you.
Right. He lost some tough matches. He lost. The only time he beat Rock Holly this year was by disqualification after squashing him at the end of the year to get that title shot at ManchMania.
Well, Brandon, I had a few.
He won by disqualification one night because the Shadow King threw a shot in on Bones, and that was about it. Otherwise, Rock Holly ran the fucking table on Brandon Bones. Bones lost that epic against Frankie Fisticuffs in the Super 32 tournament. But check this out, though.
He came out with a winning record.
No, it just isn't as bad as you think it is. He's 11-12 for the year.
Oh, that's not half bad.
Okay.
I believe 2 of those 12 losses are when he tried to beat me, if I'm not mistaken, because he got squashed by me.
Right.
I think early in the season.
I mean, he had 6 total victories for the year and stuff. I mean, that's
6 singles.
Yeah, 6 singles matches. He
10
won.
losses.
Yeah,
in the singles.
10 losses though, and that is just 16 fucking singles matches and stuff like that. Yeah, but overall he
did work.
Bones did choke out Ryan Crawford in the greatest 6-man tag match, possibly the greatest MVWF match in history.
Right up there, yeah. It's got some
I mean, it's my match of the year. I mean, just hands down. Sorry, I'm biased. I don't care. That was an amazing fucking match. Between was it Doyle and Whiteside and Bones against the new generation of Welch, Crawford, and AJ, when things were a little bit different between him and Bones. But AJ's record, however, tells quite the different tale: 17-8. So AJ, I don't mean to skip over Brandon Bones. So did you want to talk about what you have planned for Brandon Bones in the future? I mean, he's your manager, of course. He's going to be at ringside for your matches.
Yeah, I think Brandon's going to be more behind the scenes for a little while. He's going to be in what we'd call the Triple H role. Mm-hmm. He's going to wrestle in matches that need him. Mm. Maybe he gets some matches he wants. Maybe he doesn't.
Some dream matches?
Yeah. There's a couple that he wants to 4-way out. We know how the Undertaker, Triple H are now. They stop and go here and there. But Brandon is more valuable outside the ring at times. Mm-hmm. So with that side of it, give him a break. I mean, he did get suspended for PEDs, which I'm not happy about, but it happens one more time. It's a mandatory 180 days.
Right,
That's a season, basically.
Right.
So.
Well, I hope you don't have to fucking pee in a cup now that you're in good shape.
Well, it may happen. We're gonna have to check that out. I mean, I don't have the abs like Bones did that day.
I mean,
blatantly obvious.
Apparently, you guys have been training at the same gym.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we're the same nutritionist.
Right.
But I think Brandon Bones is gonna have more of a hands-off.
12-4 was your singles match record this year.
Shit, really?
Yeah.
Wow, 12-4.
And didn't get a title shot all year long. Now you have the bookership. Every time that you have been in line for a title shot, you've had to cross that gap of a number one contendership match, which unfortunately has seemed to have fallen in these multi-man matches, as you've highlighted over.
I don't think there's been one of those at a one-on-one match.
Right.
Oh no, correction. I have had one title match. It was the very first title match with Rock Holly.
That's right.
My first.
You
my
were
third match ever. I got to a title match.
You were a finalist in the championship tournament. So much promise early on.
Actually, I've been a finalist at every tournament up until the last tournament where CM Punk took me out 1 round short.
Right.
2 rounds short.
Okay, talk your shit, motherfucker.
But, hey, look, I'm just saying that one.
I did mention that you have a 12-4 record in singles matches.
I agree, but that's one of those 4 losses.
Right.
And I think I'm trying to think. Crawford might be one of the other losses. I don't remember the other 2, but it was something stupid I lost to somebody, but like Little Bitch Ass or somebody like that.
Yeah, he got you with the sunset flip.
See, Little Bitch Ass and me had this thing. He was the guy that kind of showed me the ropes in season 1.
Right.
He beat my ass in a match I should have won.
Yep. Well, he had experience over you.
Yes, he did, and that's where you learn. You got to learn from your mistakes. You got to take your lumps, move up. So, Little Bitch Ass is somebody that I have a lot of respect for going forward. But as far as talking this title stuff,
you guys have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Because he had that record, that really good winning record in season 1.
Yeah, he was pretty good in
season 1. Let me see if I can find that on LBA. He was, fucking
13 and
13 and 10 in singles
Okay, so
matches.
I mean, 13 wins in 1 year is a good year.
Yeah.
But I mean, we saw he obviously suffered some serious injury at ManchMania, and that's led to him being out for almost.
Well, I mean, I think the B1 Climax tournament fucking kind of busted him up pretty bad too.
Yeah. Well, took his lumps.
Yeah.
You're gonna. But I don't have any plans for pulling a Shadow King or a bitch move and move up. I want to prove to myself I'm not going to walk up and just take a title shot right now.
Really? Okay, so you're on record then.
Yep.
Right.
I'm not pushing for that route. I mean, obviously, I have an issue with Crawford from the punch that led to one of my losses. I would have had a better record if it wasn't for Crawford. But right now,
he certainly wasted your time as a tag team partner.
No, I mean, we've only had 2 matches, I think. We did 2 and we lost both, but, they weren't straight up 2-on-2. They were 4-mans both times. So your odds are...
More multi-man matches.
That's been the story of my career. I get to the plateau, and they give me these fucking... Hey, we're going to put you in a 3-on-1 match, and you're going to have to win that to go. Right. Like, it's always a screw job, whether it was Brandon Bones or the Shadow King. It happened every year, but, I'm close, but I'm not there.
Right. I mean, you won a handicap match this year against 2 of the scrubs, and then Bones tried to top you, and he ended up eating shit for getting pinned by a local talent in that 4-way match, even though he'd taken out Kid Christian.
Just want to clarify, local talent's 2 pins all season. Nick the Destroyer, Brandon Bones.
Yeah. Hey, kudos to him. I mean, he's managing to stay on the roster. Yeah. I mean, who knows? What you don't really have to, because he's not really a guy that you have to.
No. But getting back to me, I mean, obviously, I have my thing with the Shadow King. I don't think there's much more to add. I mean, he's probably going to come after me at some point, trying to get back what he lost. But
right.
What
do you think? If you don't mind, since we're in this particular area here, we've already talked about the Bones Punk thing. And we talked about Arn Patrick running in on Bones and taking his head off. How about what do you think? Perhaps maybe you teaming with Bones to face Arn Patrick and CM Punk. Maybe if Punk and Arn can have, I mean, they are pretty familiar with one another and stuff, and they're both kind of like real new to this locker room.
Now, didn't Arn lose to Punk?
Yes,
so they have a little bit of history there.
Yeah.
It could almost be like the LBA me scenario from season 1.
Right.
CM Punk might be taking on Patrick under his wing.
Right.
So that's a possible. Brandon and AJ had a good title time. We were tag titles.
Right.
We were the champs.
Right.
My only belt that I've ever had, except for that season I walked around with Brandon Bones' belt.
Yeah.
I had the original, he had the fake, just so you know.
Okay. But of course, the Bones Arn thing might be something that ends up being on the table for him too, because I mean, we'll see how Bones responds to basically having his clock cleaned at ManchMania by this young upstart who took a hard loss in the opening match, but decided to get in the owner's face for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, does Brandon think the kid deserves that privilege of being in the ring one-on-one?
I mean, I've got it on good authority that that Bone. I mean, it's one of those things that because Bones' plan was pretty much like when I spoke to him was pretty much the way you laid it out, that he's going to try and do like bucket list items and stuff.
Yeah, he's got a couple that I've heard and we've talked about behind the scenes.
Like Bones wants to wrestle Daniel Bryan. I mean, Daniel Bryan is his favorite wrestler.
But Bones is going to have to do some work to get Vince to approve that match behind the scenes.
Right, but I mean, every year we've done a versus WWE event and stuff, and I mean, if this is something that's going to happen this year, usually you might want to do something like after a pay-per-view or something like that to have kind of like a breather week.
Right, an off week where the guys just go and have a
where you do something, but you don't do anything of necessarily of consequence. And of course, there is the matter of pride between the feds and stuff.
Well, I can go on record for myself saying I've won every match I've had outside of the MVWF, short of losing to Matt Riddle.
Yeah, Braun Strowman.
I beat Braun Strowman. I beat that other little Asian guy that I had to fight in New Japan, or wherever I fought in the New Japan match.
Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, see how important his name was?
You don't even remember his name.
How important was he? Don't remember his name.
Yeah, but you know what, though? That was the match that you came out with Bones.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
Yeah.
That was our first match.
Yeah. And, fuck, are you undefeated? You're undefeated since then, right?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, in one-on-one matches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I lost since then. I mean, I don't think I've had,
Rock Holly, 6-13 this year. A lot less active for Rock Holly this year. And, I mean, well, we've already basically openly stated, I guess, here that the very first idea for Rock Holly this year is that, he's getting a title shot against Crawford in Crawford's, what would be his 5th championship title defense.
Yeah, he asked for it, and kudos to Rock Holly. I mean, he had a down year, as you said, 6-12, but he also had that rib injury. Mm-hmm. He was basically consumed by the Shadow King for the season, so he had his own thing to do. He didn't really need to be a forefront person this season.
Well, I mean, he took a beating to get into that scenario, too, because the Shadow King really laid him out at Kings of War.
You have to go in and see, have you noticed that every time the Shadow King sucked somebody in, they had a phenomenal match with him?
Yeah.
And the Shadow King was trying to recruit me for how long?
Right.
We had good matches.
Yeah.
But I won, so good be evil in that case.
Yeah. I mean, it's all the same. Rock Holly really capped it off there at the end with a tremendous angle with Tom Brady. And, thank you, Tom Brady, for coming to the MVWF and doing this 2-match contract. Nothing more than that. Tom Brady will not be back in Season 3.
No, he will not.
Neither will Gronkowski.
Grunk's a free agent. He's not on the roster right now, but there was potential. He has some potential.
Okay.
I mean, but...
If you say so, I mean...
Well, I'm only going off of what I saw. I haven't made any decisions on any of that yet, so none of that's been cleared out. I'm kind of building the first week right now in my head, so we're kind of going over this, but I can tell you for a fact that Crawford will fight there. And we're going to have to talk to Brandon Bones if he wants to fight Arn Patrick just to clear that up, or if he wants to let Arn Patrick do what I had originally thought, and we'll see where he goes from there.
Well, Bones has always had the attitude to let people fucking just twist in the wind.
Yeah. I just feel like that's below Bones to give, because if Bones loses that match, where do you go from there?
Right. 12-7 in singles matches for Doyle, but 18-12 overall for the Iron Man and the Wrestler of the Year, Ryan motherfucking Doyle.
That record's misleading.
You think so?
I feel like Doyle won more matches, but I can see where he lost them. He was in a lot of those three-way, multiple tags. Mm-hmm. I think most of his losses probably came in the tag.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he
had 6 singles losses.
Really?
6 singles losses, yeah. I mean, he lost the belt.
Yep.
Fuck, who else? I think Ron Awesome beat him once.
Yeah,
they had a pretty hot feud there.
Then we brought him back. They fought again.
But he came back to beat him.
Yeah, it's revenge.
Yeah. And then, of course, he lost in the finals of the Super 32 tournament. That was pretty heartbreaking for him and stuff. And that was the key. That's what kept him out of the main event at ManchMania.
Yeah, he won that match. It would have probably been still his fate there.
Yeah.
But, I think he's going to...
And Crawford had pretty much put him away as a contender as well.
Yeah, I mean, I sat down with Doyle and Whiteside, and they've resolved their issues, so they probably will return to the tag division at some point.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they've apparently patched things up. Well, whether it's held by superglue or held by tape, we don't know.
Right,
But
right.
time will tell that answer.
Well, you know what I mean. It's not the first time it's happened.
No.
They're
like brothers.
Yeah.
You fight, you hate each other for 3-4 months, you get back together.
Yeah, it's questionable whether or not the I guess because the Danzig thing meant so little to that match.
Right.
That I guess maybe it might make it easier for Doyle to forgive him.
Yeah, I mean, and Doyle's got a little bit of unresolved issues with Brandon Bones. That's got to get taken care of at some point, and obviously we know Crawford, and I think Kevin Welch has a little bit of thing against Doyle too. So
yeah, I mean,
they got a line they can run.
Well, they both won non-title matches with the champion prior to ManchMania.
And both lost to the champion at previous times.
Right before that. But they have the last victory over him, the last time they faced.
Well, that's the thing. Crawford can lose those non-important matches, but when it comes to an important match, Crawford wins.
Right. Be careful there, though. I mean, I think Doyle is still fairly well ranked in the singles division.
I'm not writing Doyle off at all.
I mean, so before you send him off
no,
to the tag team division.
No, I'm not sending him off. I'm just saying that, like, there's a possibility you could see a reunion, not saying it's definitive.
Right.
We left it off with them two arguing with each other.
Right.
So.
But one feud I would definitely say has probably we need to have the brakes put on it because we have a definitive winner now, is that the Jacksons have put the Kingdom of Nightmares away at this point.
From the locker room conversations, the Kingdom of Nightmares are not on good terms.
Right. Oh.
There's Mr. Nightmare is feeling shaded. Adrian Knight gets all the glory of the matches.
He does.
Nightmare does a phenomenal job. He has good matches for a rookie. But Adrian Knight's getting all the props. So I could see potential of those two meeting if it comes down to it.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Adrian Knight won his match against Kyle with some help from Mr. Nightmare at ringside. But Nick was the one that defeated Mr. Nightmare, and there's been some questions going back whether or not fucking Adrian Knight was there for his partner or not. I mean, there was a lot of shenanigans going on in those matches.
It was hard to keep track of all the things going on with that. Like, you never knew who was after who in that case.
There was definitely some fuckovers, but ultimately, I mean, a fantastic feud that you could possibly go back to at some point or another, but I mean, if the fucking heat is on in the other locker room and shit, that's just too fucking bad for them. Because I have a list here in front of me of potential tag teams that I want you to consider.
All right.
Here.
Well, before you jump to that list, let's find out how was singles matches for Nightmare and Adrian Knight this year. Who was better?
Mr. Nightmare has one single victory in singles division and one single loss.
So his loss is Nick.
Adrian Knight is 3-0.
So Adrian Knight was good in singles.
In singles matches, yeah. But as a tag team, they were 7-2.
7-2. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a tag, they work well.
Yeah.
I mean, and their two losses are to the Jackson Boys.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, not to run off track. I was just thinking because I mean, Adrian Knight had a stellar solo career, year one.
Yeah.
Then year two, he gets in a tag with his friend. And does that all season pretty much, except for, 3 matches?
Right. Well, Adrian Knight had all the spotlight to himself in Season 1. And then he brings along Mr. Nightmare at Adrian Knight's request. The last time I spoke to him, he requested that Mr. Nightmare be his tag team partner, and they go after the tag belts. And that's
so the route he asked for.
Yeah.
So Brandon Bones is doing favors for guys behind the scenes by giving them requests. Huh?
No, motherfuckers can negotiate their bookings if they...
You didn't say negotiate, you said he asked. That doesn't sound like negotiation.
Well, I mean, I asked him what he wanted to do for this year, and he was like, "Make sure that you download Mr. Nightmare because I want him to
to be there." Yeah.
Yeah, this was the conversation I had with him. Like, is your guy posted yet?
Oh, so yeah, okay. You were checking to make sure he was still around.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd waited for a while to hear back from him and stuff because he didn't get the game when it came out. It seemed like he must have got it around Christmas time or something.
So yeah.
And then suddenly he had 5 guys made on his little.
He got to work
on the community creation.
He sounds like a young version of Brandon Bones.
Yeah. An entrepreneurial.
All right. So you want to talk about tags? Is that what you were going for?
Yes.
All right. Let's have that conversation.
All right. So the Jacksons, the tag team champions, they are on probably the greatest run any tag team has had thus far in the MVWF.
Yes, that is.
They've had hotter feuds than Doyle and Whiteside did, in spite of the fact they had a very successful tag team run in Season 1. But you've got uppercut and fisticuffs.
Yep.
Possibly, maybe the Knights, the Kingdom of Nightmares.
I think if it came to some scenario that they had a shot to get the title belts, they'd get back in.
Right. The Spruce Street Butchers are still floating around.
Yeah.
Bones and AJ have potential as a tag team to come back.
Yep.
I have a potential Ron Awesome LBA rematch in line, but of course, this might be something that could be plugged back together, and should that not happen.
Right.
Of course, the Rock and Roll Express don't seem to want to ever go away.
No, they're on my list.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm just going to get to this now. I have a reveal for you here.
League of Shadows too.
No. Kid Christian has a new stepdad.
So, on my notes, I wrote down Kid Christian, stepdads, plural.
Yes. I'm ready to announce to you
Who's new stepdad? Okay, so who is this mom porking today?
Ron Supreme.
Well, the Terminator arm does its work.
That's right. It fucking does the figure eights.
You know what?
On the nappy dugout.
That works phenomenally.
Yep. So there's potential for them to be a tag team.
Okay.
I did mention possibly Arn Patrick and Punk. Should they resolve their issues? Or, there's always the potential for another. Arn Patrick could just want a rematch with Punk to fucking maybe answer the question because he did get that close to beating him.
Yeah, let's see if that was his
within the last shot.
Did he plateau there? Yeah. No, I can see it. Okay.
Of course, as you said, the League of Shadows.
Yep.
Rock Holly, MC Honky Lips, the Shadow King. Of anybody coming out of ManchMania, Honky Lips and the Shadow King specifically seem to have the biggest question marks over their heads. Because they took the hardest loss. They lost both of their matches, and 3 in total.
Yeah.
Everything went wrong for the League of Shadows at ManchMania. Outside of Rock Holly beating Tom Brady. But Tom Brady himself isn't really connected to a lot of the lifeblood of the storylines of the MVWF.
Right.
But it was a tremendous victory for Rock Holly, more than it was for the League of Shadows.
Yeah. It meant more to Holly.
Yeah. Cuban the Wolf could be back. Whiteside and Doyle, perhaps. I had Whiteside in a question mark because I had him down as potentially being tag teaming with somebody.
Yeah.
Jimmy Controversy and Local Talent could always be a tag team if you want to introduce somebody new or get somebody hot or whatever. The Manchester Police Department made an appearance during the Royal Rumble on the pre-show. They could always be around. The Young Bucks got a victory in the pre-show as well. If you potentially want to book them in some tag team matches and some matches with AEW, if you want to do perhaps maybe a different approach to the interpromotional stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Because right now the Bucks are getting around. Right now they're doing a House of Glory match. They're doing matches in AAA down in Mexico. So apparently before things really get swinging for AEW's regular weekly TV show, perhaps they're open to some bookings here and stuff.
Right. Oh, maybe there's a window of opportunity.
Yeah.
To bring them in.
Yeah. By the way, we'll probably be aiming for maybe second week of August for the show to start picking up for the end of the year.
All right. Well, we got one match scheduled.
Yeah.
That's what we got for right now.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to talk to you about too.
Well, I got my list. Are we gonna cut me off?
No. This is actually kind of off topic here.
Jumping around.
Because Kenny Omega was at Starrcast, and Kenny Omega's a big gamer.
Yeah.
Like one of AEW's last shows was called Fighter Fest, which took place at like this video game conference convention thing or whatever. But he talks about how I've already said, quoted Brandon Bones. Bones is saying that season 3 is the last season for phase 2. There's always potential for something else to happen. But Bones said that if the next 2K game, unless it did something really groundbreaking, to maybe bring back a GM mode or something a little bit more manipulative, so we can get more cinematics on the show and stuff to make it more like a TV presentation. Because one of the things I complained about in that undisclosed location viewing of ManchMania was that there weren't enough camera cuts, right? But Kenny Omega made an interesting comment, because now you've got a multi-billion-dollar fucking billionaire putting money into this new wrestling federation. The question is going to be arising: is AEW going to have its own wrestling game? And Omega said that
I saw the picture of it.
He was interested in bringing back the Aki game engine from the Nintendo 64 games, the No Mercy engine, WrestleMania 2000, WCW versus the World, all of these fucking, if they brought that fucking game engine back, that would be something that Brandon Bones would say he'd be interested in doing to bring back the MVWF for phase 3.
We gotta know.
Or would it be a phase 3 or would it be a season 4? I don't really know at that point.
No, it's still unknown right now.
I mean, the answer to that question will come based off the results of what you're able to succeed in booking with here for the rest of the year. But that's something that I want you to kind of keep in mind, that this may not necessarily be the end, but this is definitely the end of 2K19, and unless 2K20 is something fucking above boards, I'm not going to buy the game right off the bat.
To start over.
Yeah, just to start over again. So, so keep that in mind as reflective of your booking and stuff. But go ahead.
So you're implying I need to get all my screws in now because there may not be screws later on? Is
Maybe,
that what we're implying?
I would say swing for the home run if you can.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you can book a WrestleMania every fucking week, then I would say do it.
Okay, well, we'll get down that line. So in tag match, people that we talked about, Crawford and Welch could come back as a tag if they can get their shit together.
I don't know, dude.
I don't know either. That's just a question, but
I don't know. I don't know if that's something that could be repaired because Kevin got the last win over him. The hot Asian wife is the type of thing that fucking would make. I mean,
hot Asian wife would be the center focal point of that. If they can bond over hot Asian wife,
is she around though?
Well,
I mean,
right
has she left for?
I'm pretty sure
the
that
other
Shadow
show?
King kicked her ass to the door after she didn't help him win his match against me.
Right.
So she's a free agent. She's out there. She's probably banging Trevor for all we know.
Because we know Trevor's not banging Kid Christian's mom anymore.
He's been replaced. So but I mean, Crawford had mentioned to me that he'd love to see the Legion of Doom come back, but I believe one of them's actually technically dead.
Right.
So that really wouldn't work the way I'd like it to work. But I mean, I like your list, and that might apply to my possibility of doing this. My thought for this 8 or 16 team tag tournament.
Right.
Do a tag tournament.
Okay.
Very quick, very simple.
16 teams.
Yep.
Now, what's at stake here?
Well, my thought was let's just say the Jackson boys are still title holders. They're in the equation at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they win or lose, they don't lose their belt if they win or lose.
Right.
But the winner would get their opportunity to choose any match they want.
Okay.
With any stipulation they want.
Right.
So it would allow that tag team to basically
So that tag team, of course, is going to ask for a title shot,
probably
under whatever circumstances.
And then stack the deck in their favor.
Right.
Whether it's, let's just say it's somebody who's a hardcore, so
right.
they want the ladders and tables and chairs, or
right.
whatever. So it's a.
Would they be able to go as far as to make it add an additional partner and make it 3-on-2?
If you can manipulate in the game, then that's whatever they choose.
I'm fairly certain that is an option.
So are you running the situation? Let's just say Honky Lips and Shadow King win it. They could bring Rock Holly in as the third and have their chance to take the belt back with 3.
It's what you call it's kind of a modified Freebird rule,
right?
Because the Freebirds would be able to defend the tag team titles with a trio of guys that would kind of rotate in and out. The New Day does it as well.
Well, that's what I mean. That's my
Demolition.
thought. I mean, I have it pretty much drawn out. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
The only drawback is I had a thought for the finals, but that might not be able to work.
Is this the season's big tournament for the year?
It maybe unless something else comes out. Yeah, because I think we need to put some focus in the tag titles.
Okay.
I think they need their shot.
Right.
We've done singles to set up the first title. We've done a tournament to see who's the best of the best, which you won that one year.
Right.
Last year we did Super 16, 32, whatever it was.
Super 32, yeah.
Did the Super 32 and whittled it down to basically the same people in the end most of the time.
Right.
So I think the tag title deserves a shot.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it part of the mission statement for season 2 was to elevate the status of the tag team division.
Right.
And in a lot of good ways, and we were super successful with it. A little less so with the Rock Hollies Skinny Wolf tag team, which I think we can pretty much abandon at this point.
No different than me and Crawford. Things that didn't work out, but you got to try it to see if it works.
Yeah, that was one of the real reasons why I thought the League of Shadows was perfect for Rock Holly, because it was just I needed to get him away from the Skinny Wolf because that was just not working out for him.
Right. No, but hey, that was the thought I had.
Okay. So this is the big tournament.
I think that's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what kind of tournament is it?
Well, I gotta work out the details of that, but I could do it. You could do it as a single elimination. You could do it as a double one, which depends on how long we want to run it.
Like a B1, like a round robin.
Almost. Well, almost. It's you have your brackets. Your A, B, C, D on each side, and then like the loser of tag title A match would go. Winner goes forward. Loser goes down to the next bracket. They fight the loser of bracket C. If they lose the route, that guy continues. So the person on the bottom could lose their first match and work their way all the way back up to get into the finals.
Okay.
So it gives them...
That's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and that just works in 2 brackets, and then the winner of each bracket fights for the title. Fights for that right to pick their match.
That's not a bad idea. We used to do a tournament back in the day, and let me just throw a pitch at you because I don't have... This isn't in my notes or anything, but it's definitely something that we used to do prior to ManchMania. Like, this would be the tournament that we would do that would get you the championship match.
Right.
It was called the Super Match Tournament. Was it Super Match Tournament or was it Super Bastards Tournament? No, Super Match. Here's how it worked. It was an 8-man tournament, 4 matches to start. Right?
I have the same write-up.
Singles matches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And after the first round, it was double elimination, and all the losers, everything would be flipped upside down. So the loser of the winner of the first match would face the loser of the last match of the first round.
And then the 2 and 3,
Right. Now this was the Jeopardy spot right here, because the loser of the last match now was facing the guy with the most rest, with the first victory, and they had to wrestle immediately afterwards, after losing that first match.
So we could have the discussion to tweak the system. I mean, I literally have an 8.
There are a number of different ideas and stuff like that.
But different plays on the same scenario.
Because I'm just kind of glancing over at your notes. So you look like you have like 8 teams for a tournament.
Well,
and stuff like that.
It's 2 brackets. I didn't write them both out.
Okay.
So you have your 8 teams in one, and you have 8 teams. But that was the question. Do we have?
So it's right now, like bracket wise, it could be a Super 32 just with tag teams.
It just would be 16 teams.
Okay.
We're not going that big.
Okay.
It's just 2 brackets. You put them side by side.
Right.
You have your lower bracket for the losers, which is what you're talking about, but you flipped it and had the winner fight the loser. You had some weird dynamic.
Yep.
But if you strip it down and do it the basic way, that's how I have it written down.
Right.
But we could stipulate it to make it more interesting. If we were
your idea to like work your way back up from the bottom and stuff like that, because I mean anybody who has lost in the first round gets another chance, and a lot of the drama came from now. You have guys who are in perfect condition, being 1-0, or you've got guys who are always in jeopardy.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You get a team that loses A and loses D, and they have to wrestle in another match.
Right.
Let's say Team A wins, but they're both coming off losses.
Right.
So you level the playing field, but if you do it the other way, like you just said, where a winner fights a loser or something, that's more complicated.
Right.
But I mean, I like the idea that if you lose, so let's just say Brandon and AJ have a bad first match.
Right.
One of us isn't up to par. We lose. Now we have to win 3 matches to get a shot, and we got to win 2 matches at the end.
Right.
It makes
I definitely like the Jeopardy aspect to it, but I think the thing I'm probably more married to is anybody who loses first time around gets a second chance.
That happens.
Now that makes because it's the difference between the 2 scales of the 2 tournaments and shit. Because we had like 32 guys in the Super 32. Sure, that's a huge tournament, but it's unwieldy. So you're saying it's unwieldy at the tag team level, right? Because there's too many guys.
You have a chance to redeem yourself right away.
No, you have a way to survive. I like the idea of having a different style tournament where there's a second chance, but maybe not to the extent of the P1 climax.
What are we second chancing though? Like I'm understanding what you're saying, sort of, but if you lose, you're in Group A and you lose, who's your second chance match against? Because in this case, mine would be against the loser of D, and if you lose that match, you're out. If you win that match, you continue.
So I mean, it's the complete inverse here.
I don't know that. Well, we can hash all that out later. I'm starving, so I'm trying to speed the process a little bit.
Okay.
Nothing personal. I just need to eat.
All right. So what other plans do you have for the year? I mean, Howard, how do you want to start the year with that title defense, or do you want it to be the first pay-per-view?
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna start it off that way, or if we're gonna start it off as a tournament just to get it out of the way.
Right.
Because it's probably easier just to bang that out quickly. But if my focus is the tags, then I want that to be the focus for this.
Okay.
So we may just start it that way, and Crawford's title thing will happen somewhere down the line.
What about the first title defense for the Jacksons?
Well, it's to be determined. I really don't know who that. I think the thing with Adrian Knight and Mr. Nightmare has kind of run its course. I don't see a perfect match for them right now.
Okay, I mean, so that means whatever you're going to do, once the MVWF comes back and we're on the air and you're booking matches, there need to be some tag team matches that
kind of give me a clear,
determine things.
Yeah,
right?
And then maybe we do just some tag matches, like our first, let's just say first 2 events. Mm-hmm. Have 2 or 3 tag matches per event. in yourself. Because I have a thing. I'm stealing it from the Ultimate Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few guys. So we'll do this. We'll leave this part in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a list of 7, 8 people that need to step up this year.
Okay.
I won't name their names because I don't want to throw them under the bus.
Right.
But I almost thought of some mentoringship role, almost like the Ultimate Fighter, where you get coaches. They have 4 guys each. They have some matches once a week, whatever. We can do it over, and the coaches end up fighting in the end.
Right.
But I feel like some of the guys need to step up, and if we give them a chance to have some mentorship where they come out with the guy. So let's just say hypothetically you're a mentor and I'm a mentor.
Okay.
Not who it is, but we'll say it that way. And you have Arn Patrick, and you have Nick, and you have Mr. Nightmare, and you have one other guy as your team. So you're coming out with Mr. Nightmare when he has the singles match.
Right.
You're ringside because you're there to watch your pupil.
Right.
Okay. So I thought something along that line might be interesting to foray. But if we're going to do the tournament, and that might be too many things trying to take up 60% of your days.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a difficult balance and stuff. I mean, Crawford has asked a couple of times about the possibility of a secondary championship, perhaps in the singles division, like an Intercontinental belt or something. I don't know if we necessarily have enough time for that.
Not if it's planning on concluding in a little while.
And as far as like scheduling things and stuff, because I'm going to have to operate all of the mechanics of the broadcast and stuff like that. So, getting ahead of the game is going to be something that's going to be required for the most part to have at least have. And of course, sometimes I would have those other events and shit like that just on a whim, just because I had time. And, I wasn't going to bother any of my neighbors with all my yelling.
Just throw in something. Yeah, I get you.
I
have a few other ideas, but I'm going to leave those out. But then maybe get done. We'll see how it goes.
One more guy I want to go over before we wrap this up, and that is Kevin Welch. His record here in the singles division, 10-4.
So best singles record. On the year. 1
draw, 2 tag team losses, and 2 6-man tag team losses. Those losses don't really hurt him that much. Much of his story was deeply involved in the singles division, and that's fine. But 10-4. Yeah. I mean, quite the turnaround in perception here. He was in the main event most of the year. Stayed like right either in the main event or right underneath it. I mean, tremendous year for Kevin Welch.
Oh yeah, phenomenal year. I mean, building off beating Brandon Bones in the V1 Climax, moving forward, getting a title shot, getting a title.
Beating Conor McGregor at ManchMania a year ago.
McGregor. I mean,
beating Gronk. Even in spite of the fact that he took a dangerous bump there in that match.
It might be time for Kevin Welch to get a real match in a tournament. A real match in a ManchMania. He's had 2 gimmick matches, if you want to call it that. But we'll see how the season plays out. But yeah, I got hopes for Welch this year.
An arc?
Arc, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some arcs, and we'll see. I mean, I still got a lot of little kinks to work out, and we'll decide what we're going to do, but I'm leaning toward starting the tournament.
Right.
And just going from there.
Okay, and then one final thing here. The undercard guys, Walker, Turbotron, Trevor, the Spruce Street Butchers, Local Talent, Jimmy Controversy, Whiteside, the Skinny Wolf, who did not win a singles match. Yes he did. He beat Ron Awesome in his where he was going to retire.
That was
I missed that one then.
The Knuckles, the Brass Knuckles.
Brass Knuckles. Yeah, they fought each other. Him and Ron Awesome had a fucking amazing match year. Those 2 fight pit matches were something else, man.
Yeah, they had some good ones. I mean, they
really colored up they painted with blood the undercard of the early part of the season, and then, believe it or not, it kind of bled into the later part of the season too. They just couldn't seem to stay away from each other, and couldn't seem to put each other away, and that just. I mean, this feud's been going on for over a decade. AJ.
Yeah, well, they gotta resolve it. It's on the resolve list.
Right. So do you have any plans, anything specific for any of those undercard guys?
Development. I'm gonna give them some shots against guys they probably typically wouldn't wrestle. Take them out of their comfort zone a little bit, see if they've learned anything.
Right.
And it's, as I just found out that it might be concluding shortly, then this is sink or swim time. So now the button gets pushed.
Yeah. I mean, the one of those glaring details of all year long was Crawford's 3rd title defense against Kid Christian that he followed up. It finally put away Doyle, had that epic with Doyle, and the unique opportunity that was given to Kid Christian for winning that ladder match, coming so very close. Will we see another unique opportunity this year, do you think?
Well, I feel the winner of the tag titles gets a unique opportunity.
Right.
So that is a possibility. There may be another...
I don't know if you can do a briefcase thing in the...
No, but I mean, that gives you the option of something that those guys would have the clout to say, okay, well, hey, I get the blank check, so I'm going to write out what I want to write out, and this is how it's going to roll. Right,
because that briefcase I made was fucking pretty sweet. It's a unique
MVWF
unique opportunity on it. I was
tooting his own horn again.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks. Well, that is your sneak peek view into the upcoming Season 3 of MVWF action. Wow, year 1 it was called Danger Zone. Year 2 it was called Ground Zero. Don't really have an announcement of what we're going to call the show next year and stuff like that. At least the regular weekly show. The pay-per-views, Kings of War will definitely be back this year. This came down from the office of Brand Bones. Of course, there'll be a ManchMania 3. Don't know where that's going to be announced from as of yet. But the MVWF spent a lot of time in Canada last year. We might spend a little more time in Europe this year.
Yeah.
So you want to take that into consideration for some of your bookings and stuff. One last question here. As far as the frequency of title defenses here, there was probably only
5, 6,
half dozen maybe all year long. Are we going to see more frequent title defenses?
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to come up with something, but I think it's gonna be a balls to the wall year now.
All right.
Now that I found that out.
Alrighty, folks, that was our show. I am Damian Andrews, and for Eddie Stank, thank you for joining us on the podcast. We will see you in a few weeks for the return of Season motherfucking 3.